Hey guys, it is Danielle. Now back to Celestial Piper of Soldier of the Watch. I should have never changed my name. That was a little bit rash of me. But luckily, I was able to change it back. Yay. So, hoping to bring you more content that involves in the truther community and disclosure and things like that. So today's topic is going to be on Phil Schneider, Black Budget and D.U.M.B. That's D.U.M.B. That stands for, just in case any of you don't know, because I just learned that it had that abbreviation, is Deep Underground Military Bases. There you go. Phil Schneider, who is he? Well, he was a U.S. government geologist. He was an engineer and arguably one of the most controversial figures in the world of ufology and extraterrestrial subjects. He was born in 1947, and I believe he died in, is it 1996 or something? Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It is later in the video. I do have some notes that I'm looking at because I can't memorize all this stuff. Hello, Fibrobane. So he worked for the U.S. government for years. He worked in the field of nuclear medicine. He was involved with the Philadelphia experiment. For those of you that do not know what the Philadelphia experiment is, I hope to have a link down below for you guys to look it up. But I also probably will do a video on that in the future. Just a heads up. He worked for the government in building underground military bases. Phil was very quiet about his work and the knowledge of extraterrestrial. However, after the death of his father in 1993 and the murder of his friend Ron Rummel, Phil decided to disclose some of the most controversial topics in history. You want to know what that was? Aliens. Have I introduced you to my friend, the child, the baby Yoda? I have a drinking cup thanks to my hubby. But you need a sip. Oh my gosh, I love this mug. It's got coffee in it, and then it has water in it. I haven't used anything since I got it. Anyway, sadly, Phil only spent a little over 2 years of disclosure before alleged suicide, where any proof he had in his home, get this, went and disappeared. It's not at all suspicious. Exactly what did Phil disclose? Well, D.U.M.B, or Deep Underground Military Bases. Thanks to Nightblade for tipping me on that one because I didn't know. Battle at Dulce Air Force Base. Dulce Air Force Base, one of the deep underground military bases, which he was one of 3 people who survived a 1979 incident between the alien Greys and U.S. military forces. They were actually tall Greys. He talked about cover-ups, black projects, and UFOs. He also spoke about the Greta Treaty. And for those of you who don't know what the Greta Treaty is, in a nutshell, it's a treaty done by Eisenhower in 1954 with aliens at the Holloman Air Force Base. That would be a great topic for another video. And if you guys never heard of her, Laura Eisenhower, who is either his granddaughter or great-granddaughter, she's actually absolutely a beautiful person, has her own channel, and you should check her out. I love Laura. In 1997, Phil was employed by Morrison Knudsen, who had him building an addition to the deep underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. 4 holes were drilled in the desert that were to be linked together with tunnels. Okay. Phil's job was to go down the holes, check for rock samples, and recommend explosives to deal with the rock in that area. But here's something that to some of you might freak you out. to others because you've been in the truther community with me for a long time, or even before me, this wouldn't be anything unusual for you. But during the process of dealing with this specific rock, the workers accidentally opened an artificial cavern. Yeah, we haven't heard of those before, right? It was a secret base for, get this, the tall grays. And naturally, panic on both sides ensued that resulted in the death of 67 workers and military personnel. As already stated, Phil was one of the 3 who survived. He claimed that the scars on his chest were the result of being struck by an alien weapon that later resulted in cancer due to radiation. This weapon makes me think of, or like my thoughts go directly to Star Trek with like the little lasers and stuff. I don't know if that's what it was, but that's what makes me think of. Me being the sci-fi nerd and stuff like that, I naturally just go there. Phil had many amazing stories. One of them was in regards to his father's involvement with the Philadelphia experiment. When his father died, he discovered original letters down in his basement that proved that the Philadelphia experiment actually happened. It also had proved that his father, Oscar, had been a participant after the crew members had been quarantined in Virginia psychiatric ward. His father, Captain Schneider, he was in the military, autopsied the bodies of the crew members as they died and found alien implants in their arms, their legs, even behind their eyeballs. Ooh, it just gives me the willies. And in their brain. And how freaky is that crap? I'm sorry. I mean, it never stops getting freaky for me. I mean, I've heard a bunch of stuff, watching things, reading stuff, whatever. It's still freaky. I don't have anything foreign in my body. Ew. Anyway, he believed that these implants had to be of alien origin, and small transistor-like item was discovered before the transistors had been invented. It makes you wonder how much of our technology comes from other beings. I'm not saying it's extraterrestrial, and I'm not saying it's interdimensional. Could be demonic. It could be actual beings from another planet. I don't know. Either way, you got bad and you got good. That's all I'm saying. This evidence, whether by accident or on purpose, showed that aliens were likely to be involved with the Philadelphia experiment. So how about that? And it may have been responsible for its failure as well. Some of you may find that Phil's claims to be too wild or disturbing to be true to the average person, or investigator or researcher. He believed in what he was saying for sure, and he claimed his life was in danger for revealing the truth. How many truthers do you hear that from? I'm talking like ex-military people who, are disclosing things that they were sworn not to disclose, and there you have it. One of my favorite people, he wasn't in the military, but he was used in experiments, I believe. I can't remember his last name, but his first name was Max. And sadly, he's gone. Poof. Anyway, not that he really disappeared, but his life did. He borrowed a gun from his friend. Okay, Phil was really feeling like he was in danger, maybe even his family, I don't know. But he borrowed a gun from his friend Ron Utella, and stating that he had felt he needed protection because there had been several attempts on his life. For example, his car several times was run off the road by men of the Secret Service. Sadly and ultimately, any precautions for safeguards that Phil may have established, they weren't enough to keep him alive, and he was found dead in January of 1996. So I was right about the year, 1996. You can find photos for those of you that want to look at them. I know some people probably wouldn't, but you can find photos on the net of his body after he was suicided. Now, there were marks on his neck that may have been signs of strangulation. That's why, like, these photos really kind of point out that it really doesn't show a suicide. It shows something more of a nefarious nature. And in the autopsy report, and this was according to his ex-wife Cynthia, it stated that a rubber hose was tied 3 times around his neck in a knot, and it blocked the blood flow naturally to his brain, which resulted him to become unconscious before dying. She had also stated that she believed he may have been injected with something to knock him out, and then he was strangled to kill him. It's really hard to tell if there's a needle mark in people, so I don't know where she may have gotten that information, but either way, it really looks kind of suspicious. A lot suspicious, actually. What am I saying? His ex-wife stated that all Phil's lecture material, unknown metals, and I'm talking like unknown metals, probably of this earth, military photos, and all his notes for his unwritten book on UFOs were missing. So obviously there must have been some sensitive material in there from his apartment. So, not only did he kill himself, but his stuff just disappeared. Poof. Yeah, it's interesting. How about that? So if we die, if we have anything we don't want people to see when we die, can it poof? No, it can't. Yet all his money and other valuables, they remained untouched. Interesting to say the least. Now, according to his ex-wife, Cynthia, their marriage had ended partly because of his health ailments. So I just want to give you an idea of Phil. He had multiple health concerns, such as chronic back pain and MS, multiple sclerosis. He would sometimes have to use crutches, a body brace, leg braces, bladder bag, catheters, diapers, and a wheelchair. He also had osteoporosis and cancer in his arms, as well as hundreds of shrapnel wounds, a plate in his head, with a metal fragment in his brain. Yay, right? He was missing fingers, too, from his left hand. And he had a scar that ran from his throat all the way down to his belly button, and another scar that went side to side underneath his rib cage. Why am I telling you all this? This is why. I want you to have an idea exactly of how difficult it would have been for this guy to have committed suicide without, with how he was found dead. They said that his body was found in an unusual position. His feet were under the bed, his body on the floor, his feet under the bed, and his head was on the seat of a wheelchair at an unusual angle to boot, and his hands were found at his sides. Okay. Blood was found on the floor near his wheelchair, and yet no blood was found on his wheelchair. No wounds were even found on his body. Okay. And so it couldn't account for the blood. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, does it? And there wasn't even a suicide note found. Now, not that everybody leaves a suicide note, but reason this is just really strange with him is he said that his life was in danger. He was worried about his life, and he even said, among many, like Max, that if he were to be found dead, it was not a suicide. Simple as that. And it would be more likely an assassination, he said. So that is exactly what Phil had said before his death. So what are your thoughts on this case, guys? Please leave a comment below. And that's all for now, guys. I hope you found this to be very informational. I know I learned a lot looking this up, and I thank Rex Bear for bringing him up on Edge of Wonder, and which is really cool. And then I wanted to look into it and bring it to you guys and share what I found. So next time we will talk about some or all the stuff that Phil Schneider had disclosed. And the first will probably be about D.U.M.B, the underground military bases. Be sure to hit the like button and share this video around, and hit subscribe and the bell to be notified when I put on a new video. And I'm sorry that you haven't seen me in a while, guys. We've been pretty busy here, and I was just really needing to figure out what I was going to do with you guys. So let's grow this channel, fam. Right? You guys are a part of this with me, and so let's do this together. Remember, I love you, and the truth will set you free. Always will. This is your Celestial Piper saying peace out, my peeps, and until we meet again.